Well, Diana, what a pleasure to have you back on our campus, and even more so to have you back in my favorite spot on campus, which I'm sure it's yours as well. What a magnificent building. If that's okay, I think we have an appropriate separation. Maybe we can take off our masks. Is that
I would
okay?
love that, yes.
Perfect. I'll tell you, since we opened this building a little over a year ago, every visit that I have to campus, I bring him here. And everybody is in awe when they come in, and they know it's something special. And part of my explanation to them is I tell them about you, and I tell them about the Kendeda Fund, and they are very curious. It's not just a building that will benefit an organization. It's a building that will inspire generations of students who will go on to be leaders of other organizations.
Yes.
Was that also part of your?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Georgia Tech has such a reputation for the students that it turns out, and their level of knowledge and of interest and curiosity. And to think that the students that are graduating here will take this with them wherever they go. And the fact that you all embraced us right away, because we had some concern. Universities can sometimes be very conservative and hesitant to embrace something new, and that has not been the case at Georgia Tech, and it's just gotten better and better.
Well, as you know, I arrived back to Georgia Tech as a new president in September of 2019, right as we were opening the building, and I marveled with it. I heard a lot about it from my predecessor, President Bud Peterson, but what I noticed is that every person who had played a role in building it had a unique sense of pride and a unique sense of ownership, and they even folks who participate in building it, even people who maintain it, who work here, they want to tell the story of what this building is. I am so thrilled that we achieved the Living Building certification after all this work. I know you are too. Why are you so excited?
And I am excited. I wasn't sure at the beginning of the project whether we would be able to succeed, because we are in a hot, humid environment here. And the other buildings that we have visited in trying to make a determination of whether or not to even do the building, the climate was different. I think my team and I were committed to moving forth and seeing you and your team encouraging forward movement and saying, we can do this, we can do this. And now here we are, and we've done it. And I can tell you it's very comfortable sitting here today, even though it's raining outside. So the certification means a lot.
Well, and as we like to say here, in fact, it's become a Twitter hashtag, is we can do that. So that's what this certification means, right? If we can do this at Georgia Tech in the middle of the Southeast, it can happen anywhere.
What do you feel your plans are to continue to embrace and sustain the work that is taking place here, and the building itself, and all the unique features, because there are so many features that we can call attention to? And where do you feel that you and Georgia Tech will go in continuing to promote and embrace not only this building, but the next building you do here on campus?
Right. Well, you know, when I arrived and I learned about the project, when I met you and your family and the folks at the Kendeda Fund, everybody said, this is not a gift, it's a challenge. It's like, okay, well, I like this kind of challenge. It's like, no, it was a challenge because the idea was, we're gonna support this building as long as you agree to do everything it takes to get this very strict certification of a living building challenge. And then it became a partnership. Well, I now get it in the sense that by developing that partnership, by challenging Georgia Tech to try to do better, to try to stretch our design thinking, to bring in all the elements of not just environmental sustainability, but but of beauty, of well-being, of inclusion. It has helped us all rethink what a campus is. So our folks who plan our campus grounds, the facilities group that plans the next building, they have seen that things can be different. They're proud of what has happened here. So any new project starts with that, from that standpoint now. Our new project is to try to rethink our green spaces and try to, as much as we can, recover the original topography of the terrain and the original vegetation. And already we're thinking about even how to help with the water issues that affect cities, big cities like Atlanta. I recruited a new chief business officer, Kelly Fox, and she runs all of our finances and all of our facilities, campus. I mean, it's really a pretty big portfolio. She's restructuring her team, and she has created a position which is a vice president for sustainability and facilities. But it starts with the word sustainability, making it very clear what the goal is for that function. It's not just to build the next building.
No.
It's to be an example
Yes.
of sustainability. So I think you're thinking about challenging an institution to do better is having the intended impact.
Good. Yes, and that's what I want the students to feel challenged, like they walk in and they say, oh, this is wonderful, this is great, and they point out the staircase, the toilets, and the apiary upstairs, but then they think, we can do better. Yeah. And that's what we hope this building will promote.
And in fact, so students love this building, and they don't have to be convinced to be here because it's one of the most pleasant places on campus. So they're naturally attracted here when it's a beautiful day outside and we open all the windows. And of course now, as you know, that we're surrounded by this magnificent eco commons outside. So this is becoming a preferred place for our students to spend time. And once they're in, they start wondering, so why does this building look so different? And what's up there? And they read the signs and they go to the bathroom and they, for the first time, encounter a waterless or almost waterless bathroom. They try to flush, it's like, no, there's no flushing. What do you mean there's no flushing here? And they start thinking about water systems.
Uh-huh.
Wow, so you can have a building that really processes its own water, that is not dumping and overusing sewage, and they wonder about the energy elements, and so it is inspiring that new generation to think differently. So I'm very intrigued by your philosophy of philanthropy. So you're fortunate to have some wealth and to have to decide, what am I going to do to make a difference? How in your thinking, or at what point did you decide that environmental sustainability was one of those things? Do you remember what sort of led to that thinking process?
It's a good question, especially good because when I first started, I did not know where to put my focus. I mean, I was exposed to so many needs across our country. And what do I focus on? You know, how could one thing be better than something else? I was very close to my grandmother growing up, as so many of us are, and she has been a model for me, just in simple ways of hiking, walking together, berry picking, mushroom picking. I came to realize that the natural world has always fed my spirit, and seeing how Atlanta has grown and gotten so busy, and a lot of chaos, and how much more we need a place where people can go and get away from that. And that's such a stress reliever. And not only you can be working here, but then you could take a break and go outside. What I loved about it, I was telling Dina, is that you never feel that far away from being outside in the natural world.
And so last year, when we worked on our new strategic plan for Georgia Tech, it was sort of the time for us to rethink our future. And we brought the community together, hundreds and hundreds, actually thousands of people participated in those conversations. This idea of how do we lead by example? It's not just
I've
what we
heard that
teach,
motto.
it's just not what we do research on, but how do we make sure that our campus, our buildings, also how we handle our business, our practices, that somehow we walk the talk and that we inspire those students and people who somehow come in touch with Georgia Tech, that they walk out with a different sense of what should be done.
And I hope you inspire other university presidents when they come and they say, ooh,
Well,
what can we do better?
You're right. We like to brag about this a little bit. So anytime we host a conference, indeed, we either sometimes we host events in this building, but even if there are bigger events that don't fit inside of the building, we make sure to bring casually people to this building, and it does call people attention. Other things being equal, being public actually helps us because it becomes a source of inspiration to others.
Yes.
And including, by the way, to the very students who study here. When they go to class or to a lab and see someone's name, initially they may not know who it is or who it was that gave us that gift, but it gets your curiosity going, and it sends a very strong message that none of this would exist if it hadn't been for people who believed in the mission and who actually put their hard-earned dollars to
Yes.
work for it. So,
Yeah.
so I appreciate and applaud the fact that you went public.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that hopefully it will inspire others to think, wow, I could create something like this. Or it might be another focus, but always keeping in mind the current environment we're living in this country and the need for a healthier environment for now and in the future. And I would like the students who are so bright and have so many abilities to come away and think, what can I do? And of course I think of the planet. What can I do to make the planet better? You know, water, energy, materials that we've used, so much waste today. And one thing I loved about the Kendeda Building is all of the ways that your people or the subcontractors have used reclaimed wood in new ways. And I think that's something that we need to get back to instead of just tossing things, but how can we use this in a new way? And that's been done so well here on campus. What would you like to explore on campus to make it more visible, not only to the students that come here and the parents, but to the greater community?
So we have experimented. Of course, we soon after we opened the building, we got hit by COVID. Although in a way, I think the year of COVID has made us even more aware of how important it is to be together physically. Some people ask me, do you think after COVID we're never going back together to physical spaces? It's like, not at all. This year has also made us feel isolated. It has made us know how much we miss being with others, to share a space, to have conversations like the conversation you and I are having. We could be doing this through Zoom. I bet you it wouldn't be the same thing. So it's made us be more aware of how important it is what we do and where we do interact with others. So we're rethinking what the role of a classroom is, right? And I think if we start bringing students together just for lectures, students are going to say, that's not a good use of my time to just come here to be lectured at. Students, faculty, they're going to want to roll up their sleeves, have conversations, dig in, solve problems. So we're rethinking what our classrooms look like. We're rethinking what our offices look like. Traditionally, you know, you're a faculty member, you come in, you get into your own office, you shut it down. That you can do at home, we found out, and be productive. So how do you create spaces that lead to community, that build community, that lead to learning? honestly, I wish we hadn't had to go through this COVID nightmare for these lessons, but in a way, it's been an opportunity to reflect. And I suspect that again, when we designed this building, no one could have predicted the future. In some ways, I think we're going to see many more spaces that look like this, and far less as our traditional.
Yes. Well, I agree with you 100%.
So, Diana, of the many cool features of this building, what is your very favorite one?
And there are so many, and I could point to a number of them. But apropos to the conversation we had earlier, this section where you're inside and you're outside, that ability to feel like you're part of the environment, even as you're in here working. My kids went to Riverwood High School, and at one point they closed off all the windows. And so when the students went to school in the morning, they didn't know what the weather would be like all day. But they were locked into this closed facility. So the openness that is this building, and I'm sure there are other buildings on campus that also have this inside-outside.
Well, my favorite feature, which my colleagues make a lot of fun of me because it is the bathrooms. Say, what do you mean the bathrooms? It is really neat to see a bathroom that doesn't flush, that uses just a tiny little bit of water. And again, this is an incredible learning experience because everybody who's in this building sooner or later will use the facilities. Mm-hmm. And once you're there, you start wondering, okay, what happens with the water here? And that leads you to ask more questions about how a building can process its own water and collect water and manage the whole water system of a building. So yes, even though I get made fun of, I always choose the bathroom is my favorite feature.
Yeah, and I can understand that, and because we need better use of our water supply or sewage system, and that is happening here. I thank you for taking the time today to have this conversation. I've learned something from it, and I hope you've learned something from it. And,
absolutely. And Diana, I on behalf of all of us at Georgia Tech, once again, I can't thank you enough for choosing Georgia Tech for that challenge. I am delighted to be the first building of its kind in the southeast
with all its humidity.
With the humidity and temperature to earn this incredible designation of a living building. We're incredibly proud. You have made a difference, and the effect will continue for years and years to come.
That warms my heart to hear you say that. Thank you.